shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an alleyway, and it used to be red, and it used to be blonde. Truth is, her hair changes color all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind.
And we're live. Look at that. Boom.
Look at both wearing the same glasses.
Yeah.
We're so incredibly similar.
Well, my daughter got me these, so you know these are what your daughter thinks you look cool in, but you don't have any, so you wouldn't.
No, you know, I went to visit you on Saturday, or whatever day it was, and I told my wife, you know, I'm gonna go bring Mikey his mug, and so I'm like halfway to your house, and I realize I don't have the mug, and then I'm visiting you, and you go, somebody calls you, and you're like, oh wow, is that today? Okay, I have to go. My vaccination's today. I thought it was tomorrow. So I come home and I tell Allison this, and she just starts cracking up. She says, you do the same thing. You guys are so much alike. No wonder you're friends. And then just after she said that, you texted, hey, man, I can't find that mug anywhere. Where did I leave it? I was like, I never brought it. Anyway, we are very similar.
And we did Monday's show, right? I'd got my shot, and I felt great in the morning. And I'll have to say that the rest of the day didn't go quite as well. I wound up running a fever later in the day, and it was 99.5. My wife made fun of me because I was whining about 99.5.
Well, you know, we're men. Of course we whine about 99.5 fever.
Right. You know, I'm hearing about other people with 103, and I'm like, yeah, but 99.5 feels the same as 103, doesn't it? I'm sure it does. It's still a fever.
You know, there was a show in the 90s called Mad About You that they actually just did a resurgence of. It's still just as funny. But the wife was pregnant, and she's having, you know, some contractions. And trying to be sympathetic, the husband goes, oh, honey, if I could, I'd switch places with you. And she goes, please, you'd have one contraction and kill yourself.
Right. Is it still Helen Hunt?
Yeah.
Helen Hunt and
But
Paul
this
Reiser?
was the original show.
Yeah,
they got all the original cast. I mean, Ira's back. John Pankow is Ira, and
it's not Helen Hunt. What's her name?
Helen Hunt. Yeah, Helen Hunt.
Yeah, it is Helen Hunt, right?
Yeah, you're thinking of Fox and Mulder, same time period, different couple.
No. The Holly Hunter was the one that kept coming to my mind. Going, wait a second.
No. Holly Hunter was broadcast news and raised in Arizona, and
the one with the crinkle. She had the crinkle.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually in a movie with Holly Hunter.
Really? Wow.
Ah, you didn't know this about me, did you?
No, I'm impressed now all of a sudden.
There was I think it was made for A&E, a Bonnie and Clyde movie a few years ago, like 4 years ago or whatever, 5 years ago. And I got cast as a bailiff who swears Bonnie in at trial. And Holly Hunter played Bonnie's mother.
Court things.
I know, isn't it weird? Like, I'm a cop again. Like, of all the people that wouldn't be a cop, it would be me. And then there I am, a cop. My grandfather was a cop. And up until Katrina, I actually had a photo of him in his uniform. Just a sepia tone photo of him standing at attention in his cop uniform. I lost it in the flood. And so this was a period piece, and it was like he would have been a cop at the same time that Bonnie and Clyde, that Bonnie and Clyde would be rampaging. So I stood in my uniform and then tried to do the same pose as him and look like my grandfather. It was great, except for the sleeve was too long on one side, so the sleeve was sticking out, and it distracted me completely. I never kept the photo. At any rate, Holly Hunter was in the film, and I was so excited to meet her, only they had her dressed up as Bonnie's mother, and I didn't really recognize her until the scene was over, and then it was too late, and I had already done my best acting.
Right.
You know, swear. It was crazy though. Like, I haven't been in that many movies. I mean, I've been in Treme, and I've been in, 3 or 4 things, really small roles. And in this one, I had to walk across the courtroom to where she is standing, where she's in the witness chair to swear her in. Now, everybody else has dialogue way more important than me and close-ups and the whole deal. So they do what they call cheating the camera. And so, like, they'll move the lawyers' tables closer to the judge's bench so that when they do the close-up over the shoulder, it looks just right or whatever. So they're moving things around, and this equipment and this table's in my way. And I'm like, I'm trying to get over to where Bonnie is, and by this time I'm sort of non-essential to the thing. I don't even know why they even had me doing it. They could have had somebody calling the line from off screen or whatever. Or at least I had to be non-essential because when I went past the table, they had moved it so close to the swearing in spot that I had a nightstick on, and I had to lift the nightstick and my ass over the table to make it past the table and continue back to where the bailiff was sitting. And I just thought, well, that's not a keeper cut. I don't know much about film,
But that
that
doesn't
didn't
seem.
look right. And then, so I had just the one line or whatever. I swear her in, and then she passes out. And my friend Carl Palmer, who is a professional actor and has been in many films, he always tells me, if you get a chance to sneak a line in on a take, try and sneak it in. It's just something extra, a little extra screen time, right? So she passes out, and they don't call cut or nothing, and I'm just sitting there. So I offer a glass of water, say take some water, and they liked it, and I got the extra line. So Carl's he's my acting coach, and I'm not going to say that to him because he would ask for money. But there you go.
Right. We can't have him asking for money. Come on, that's not fair.
So yeah, if you ever watched the movie Bonnie and Clyde that was made about 5 years ago, I will be the bailiff swearing Bonnie in a trial.
Now I have a reason to
I
watch
think
it.
he was a well. That was I was prepping for the Detective Dillard role, which you got to be a beat cop first,
Right.
and then you
And then
move
you
to
could be a
detective. So
detective, right?
yeah,
Now, what
yeah.
other research did you do for that role? You know the you know
I uh, I I I got arrested a couple times and uh, pulled over a few, and uh, a lot of cops used to come see Cowboy Mouth, and drank beer with a few. So uh, yeah, I've had a lot of really, when you think about it, a lot of experience in law enforcement. Plus, I watch Dateline, so I know plenty, really.
yes. Do you ever see those ones where they kind of like leave a wallet on the floor or something like that, and just film to see what people are gonna do, and you know,
I've watched those shows. You know, yeah, I've watched them. People, I think about an amazing amount of people do the right thing, really, when you
hmm
watch those shows.
that's the thing that
That's the
always
truth
shocks me
about
is how
you.
many most
I
people do the
mean,
right
well,
thing.
that shocks you because we watch the news, and I mean, I like the news. I'm a big fan of, you know, Michelle Miller in the morning and Nora O'Donnell at night, and my WWL. I've been watching WWL news for all my life, really, since my mother was alive, since I was a little boy. But increasingly, as we've gotten older, it's less about the news and more about what the news is selling, which is the commercials, which is fear. And so we think we live in this terrible world where everybody's getting shot and things are on fire all the time. And really, in your neighborhood, chances are it's pretty quiet right now, except for the construction I know is on your street. And, like this, I love social media. It's a lot of fun, but I'm telling you, Mikey, I'm going to get rid of it one day because in 1959, in a September, let's say, there was a bombing in Paris. And you know what happened in New Orleans that day?
No,
Nothing. Nobody knew about it. It
nobody knew.
wasn't on the news until the next day. It was just a nice day, you know. But the news is mostly bad stuff. Sometimes, I do like they show the feel good segments, and it's always good to be reminded. But really, when you get down to it, most of the people in your neighborhood are probably nice folks that would help you if you were in trouble. There was a wicked storm in our neighborhood last night. I mean, I don't know how bad it was by y'all, but I mean, giant tree branches came down. I got a swing set blew over and broke and smashed the side of my car. And of course, the neighborhood was a wreck. And one of my neighbors got home from work and was just out there cleaning up everybody's stuff for him. I looked out the window and there's Robert out there cleaning up the neighborhood. So,
hmm
damn it, I had to go out there and help.
You wish you hadn't seen it. You're like, God, I saw it. I wish I hadn't looked at it. Why did I
Well,
look
once you've
outside?
seen it, you got to go do the right
Of
thing. Like I'm in
course.
here singing and trying to get ready for this Wright Brothers show that I hope my voice works for.
And when is that again,
then
by
I'm
the
in the
way? What's the
rain.
date on that again?
I think it's the 17th. It's a porch show for someone. I don't know. It's Jim McCormick's in charge, and
Gotcha.
I said yes, not thinking, and probably
Well, I just
shouldn't have
didn't know
said yes. I don't
if we
know.
should let some of these
The
people take.
rehearsals have not gone well. I'll just say,
Have you guys actually had rehearsals?
no, I've been
Okay.
rehearsing alone, and it's not going well. I mean, my speaking voice is cool. My singing voice
Not so
is
much.
betraying me as of yet,
Gotcha.
but we'll see. I'm going to keep after it, and we'll see.
Yeah. We what was it? Blah, 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 blah.
I might just sing everything an octave lower and be the new Johnny Cash.
And be the new Johnny Cash, right? Just kind of go, you know what, I'm doing it here,
Yeah,
except for the harmonies that I sing in the stratosphere, you know, which is,
I can't explain. The
you know,
mind is a weird thing, and
the mind
dystonia
is,
is the craziest thing ever.
and maybe because you're doing harmonies and you're not actually carrying the song, maybe it's easier just to hit whatever the hell you want. Who knows? You know, maybe there's some sort of,
I don't know. I really don't. You and Eddie and I were doing the test earlier,
hmm
and I was having trouble talking, so I had to go get my earplug and put it in, and now I'm talking normally again. And I think I don't know. I haven't seen an audiologist yet, and I'm going to make an appointment soon. But I think all the years of playing rock and roll have left me to the point where I have trouble hearing the sound of my own voice, and I start pushing too hard, and that's creates part of the problem of too
makes
much
sense.
force against the diaphragm and all that stuff that singers know about. And so I'm going to go see an audiologist and see just where I stand on hearing. This is the ear that was on the side that Fred played drums on.
It's true. I'm looking at you now,
So
realizing that yes, that's the.
yeah, it's I still hear his cymbal wash 15 years later. I'm
Don't tell
still
Eddie
hearing the
this.
cymbal.
Eddie's listening right now, but I had some problems for a little while with tinnitus too, because Eddie plays loud too. Cymbals loud,
Well,
so
he's a loud drummer, but Fred was born with
right.
hearing loss, with severe hearing loss. His parents used to lay him on the speakers when he was a little boy so he could feel the music. He was really, they had to do an operation, I think, when he was 5 or something. And he still doesn't have great hearing. Plus, he's played loud his whole life.
hmm
So when we would do gigs, there would be a monitor system in front of Fred that was as powerful as the sound system people were hearing out front. And what he mostly had coming through that was his own drums and his voice. Like he could hear the amps, they were behind him. And of course, Griff and I played loud, and he wanted to be as loud as amps and his drums.
hmm
But it was like deafening. As you know, having been a sound man, it's deafening on stage if you got near his drum monitors because they were as loud as the front of the house.
It was usually pretty
So,
loud.
and
Yeah.
oh yeah, and I often got on there to play guitar next to him, or to for show, or to take over the drums when he went out and worked the crowd. So, but we had fun. This way, we used to talk about it, man.
Uh,
Griffin and Fred and I and Steve Walters and later on Rob Savoy, we all talked about it like, yeah, we play loud, and when we're old, we're not going to have hearing. But we had fun,
we had
and
fun.
we
Look,
knew that.
and part of it, especially with guitar players, I mean, like there's a certain place you have to turn your amps up to for it to even make the right sounds. I mean,
I think that
it's
place is 11.
yeah, usually. But we were doing it when we did our Beatles thing. I remember Chuck Credo sat in with us one time, and he's used to playing in cover bands. And anyway, and we were playing Revolution too, right? So it was like, no, it wasn't. It was Your Blues. We were playing Your Blues with him, right? So he's, and he's playing, and we're just like, whoa, whoa, stop. Turn it up, please. We can't even hear you. And so he starts turning it up, and it's like, come on, keep coming. Keep coming. All right, right there. Let's try that. And so we start it back up again, and now it's right. The balance is right. We can all feel everything on the stage. And he's like, "Wow, that is awesome. That is the loudest I've ever played on stage." We were playing House of Blues, but it's like you got to be, it had to be that loud to sort of create the presence in the,
Well,
the
that's
sound.
that's the rock and roll that you and I grew up on and
Right.
played, and and the truth of the matter is that's not actually the rock and roll the Beatles played. That's the stereo
No, they
systems we
did turn
listened
the
to.
amps all the way up. It's just that their amps weren't as loud as our
Well, yeah,
amps.
their amps were tiny pieces of crap, though. They didn't have a giant Marshall stack behind
No,
them.
they didn't. But if they would have,
But
they
we
would have
still
turned that
went with the
sucker off.
philosophy. Oh, you know, we still went with the philosophy of turn it all the way up. Whatever it is, turn it all the way up. You know.
The other thing that's
But
amazing
they
about
had
them,
like a tiny box or something.
the early performances, they had you could hear their like they didn't have monitors, so they're singing together and harmonizing without monitors. Just
It's
it
quite
was
something,
it
actually.
is quite something.
You
Yeah,
know,
they
it
really knew
really
how to
is.
sing
I
together.
mean, it there was a level of excellence that was expected of performers in those days that it is no longer necessary. I'm not saying that the great ones of today are not as truly great as the Sinatras or Beatles or Nat King Cole's or, you know, Miles Davis's. I'm saying that there was no way to auto tune, there was no way to copy and paste. You had to get in a room and, in Sinatra's case, with a 100-piece orchestra and sing perfectly. You know, in the
Right.
Beatles' case, you had to be in a stadium of 20,000 screaming teenagers,
You couldn't
not
hear
hear
yourself
yourself,
over the right.
and sing in tune
Yeah.
because Capitol's putting out a live record. You
Right.
know,
Right. Like the Shea Stadium stuff, like they couldn't even hear themselves talking. I mean, shouting at each other
no,
on stage. They couldn't hear
no.
a flipping thing. That's why the performance was so short. They couldn't even tell what they
You
were
know, that was
doing.
that. Plus, they contracted for 20 minutes.
That's
You
true.
know,
Think
back
about
back
that.
in those days, it was a variety show.
Right.
Everybody did it. It wasn't just like that. That's what the Beatles got away with. That's what rock and roll was back then. There were
Hmm.
probably three opening acts on the bill, who got 10 or 15 minutes each, and then the Beatles came out and did 20, and the night was an hour and a half long, just like they remain today. Only now it's the band playing an hour and a half, unless it's Widespread Panic or whatever.
I think of that thing you do. You know the movie I'm talking about with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, of course. It's actually playing right now on one of the channels, and Allison hasn't seen it, so I'm excited
Oh
to
yeah, what a great
show it
movie.
to you.
But yeah, Tom
It's
Hanks with
funny,
the
like,
yeah,
oh, he's great. He's great
yes.
in it, and the band's great. And there's classic band stuff in it.
Yes, yes. Oh, and what's his name?
Yeah,
The
oh yeah.
guy, the guy, the guitar player, but he's Steve Zahn. Is
He's
great.
gone. He played in Treme.
Yes, yes, exactly. He played Davis's
Treme.
character in Treme. Um,
Yeah.
Steve Zahn is so good in that movie. He's
Well, he's a
crack up.
great actor.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
a really great actor.
We got some chat. I told you that the chat was supposed to come across. Apparently, I don't have that quite figured out yet. So Allison Dewar says she thinks it's your resemblance to Aidan Quinn that gets you all the cop things, you know. And then she
You know,
also said, okay. She
Aiden
also said
Quinn.
that
I'm
she
not.
looked up your IMDb for Bonnie. She looked up the IMDb for Bonnie and Clyde. It has the wrong Paul Sanchez picture. You need to update your IMDb.
I have
So
no idea how that stuff works. So
yeah,
I'll ask my friend Carl Palmer if he can help me when one day
yeah.
I'll buy him a sandwich in exchange for updating my IMDb page.
So the Aidan Quinn
I don't know.
story.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at my own Paul Sanchez website in probably 2 years. You
Speaking
know.
of which, that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. So, starting, soon, in the description for this, I want to put all of our, craziness in there, so you can be like, yeah, if you want to find us on blah blah blah, you can find us here. Maybe some videos and things you want to do. Yeah, I'm gonna have the description's gonna be full of links. Spotify links to new record you just put out, links to that. We
No,
have links.
I wish there was one that was still okay. I've done a lot of crazy stuff. The movie stuff that we kid about, and I was an extra in Miller's Crossing because I worked on the movie, and they put everybody in. I got to stand on, the running board of a Chevy and fire a machine gun. But when I was, and this is like, oh God, this is like 1989. I was working on Candid Camera
You're kidding me.
as a production assistant. Like hauling stuff around, just $500 a week, nothing
Uh-huh.
special, a gig. And the bit was we were out at Zapp's potato chip factory, and we were going to do a pie tasting contest with the food critic from the Times-Picayune, New Orleans Magazine, and Gambit. Only they were actors, and the pie tasting contest was supposed to be a pie fight. Well, for whatever reason, the host of the show doesn't make it in, whoever they had hired to be the host. And so the director's looking at the PAs and he goes, Paul, you're the best dressed PA, so you're going to be, the guy in the bit. So, go get cleaned up and come back and be the guy in the bit. So in the morning we had the office workers, which were the white collar workers, the people sitting at desks, and they come in and the bit is supposed to be like the guy from the Times Picayune goes, oh, excuse me, but I have two of the same pies. And he comes over and he accidentally drops a pie in the guy from the Gambit's lap. And the guy in the Gambit's supposed to steam for a couple of seconds. And then he gets up and he goes and he hits the guy in the face. Only the guy ducks and he hits another guy, and supposed to get the workers involved in a pie fight. But you have, white collar workers. They're in suits and nice dresses, and they're awful. They're like, sitting there and they're kind of pissed, then they like watch this go down. They get a little tense, like, oh, there's a fight going on between these two writers. And then somebody gets hit with pie and he goes, I'm out of here. And so that's it. I mean, there's no bit, right? So in the evening, it's the factory workers. It's the guys out in the warehouse. Now, these are guys I've worked with as a truck driver. I know these guys. And they come in wearing work shirts, like I'm wearing my Radiator shirt today, but you can't see it. But they come in wearing work shirts and they're smacking their hands going, oh, man, I'm going to eat me some pie. I put off lunch so I could eat me some pie.
Right.
I can't wait to eat some pie, And so the guy does the bit where he gets up, I'll have one of the same pie, and he goes over and he drops it in his lap. And all the office workers, you hear him, like I'm outside the door, and I hear them all go, ooh. And then the guy walks over and he hits the guy in the face with the pie. I hear one of the black guys go, damn! And then all of a sudden, pies start flying, and I can see pie gushing under the doors. And so I wait the proper few seconds, and I walk in, and these guys are just cracking up. Like the office workers were all pissed, like, you're going to pay for my dry cleaning type of thing.
Right.
I got pie in my shirt. You're going to pay for my dry cleaning. Right. And we're like, yes, we'll pay for your dry cleaning. These guys are covered in pies. There's no pie left on the table. They've taken the pies off the racks, and they're just cracking up, slapping each other on the back. And I go, fellas, what happened? And one of them goes, well, that man from the Gambit, he dropped a pie in that man from Times Picayune's lap. And then that man from Times Picayune hit him in the face. And then some of it got on him, and he picked it up and threw it at him. And I said, well, what the hell? And they all said, and the thing started again. I had to run out of the room to avoid getting hit with pies while they emptied the rest of the pie rack. And it made for a great candid camera. And about, 12 years ago, right after Katrina, I was surfing YouTube, and I actually found it, the clip.
No kidding.
And for some reason, I wish it were still on there. I can't find it anymore. But I posted it on my Facebook page at the time, and somebody wrote to me and said, so when did you start imitating Squiggy? Because I literally walk in the room and I go, fellas, what's happening? I was like, I'm this really squiggy voice, I can't do it now because I'm older and I can. But anyway, I wish that was the post on my IMDb page.
Well, it's funny. McKeon turned out to be a big star. Squiggy, not so much. Remember?
Well, he worked,
Did
and
he?
he got residual.
Yeah, I guess he
got residuals. I mean, anybody that was on Laverne and Shirley got money for the rest of their lives. It's still in syndication.
Is it really?
Yeah, I was in another bit on this candid camera thing, and it was not funny, man. It was such a drag. It was one of those moments in the movie business where I was like, my soul just got a little weaker from taking money for doing this. The bit was there was an actress in town she was famous for some soap opera, and she's in town supposedly filming something, and she goes into this florist, and she says that while she's been in town filming, she's met this fantastic guy, and blah blah blah. They've been seeing each other, and he's got a girlfriend, but she doesn't know, and and little by little, revealing the name of the guy, Billy. Well, I dated Billy. That's really weird. Oh, really? Well, Billy, he fishes for a living. Well, my Billy fishes for a living. Oh, but they can't be the same Billy. My Billy, I'm meeting him for lunch. She goes, well, they couldn't possibly be because he's on, and she names the ship, and she goes, that son of a bitch. And the actress is like trying to make it funny because now it's supposed to be kind of camera. She goes, oh, well, maybe it's the same guy. And the girl literally goes, that motherfucker. And she bursts into tears.
Oh, no.
And I just was like, we had to stop the bit and go, no. Look, she's just, and then
not what
the
you
poor
think,
girl,
Lord.
was still, she couldn't stop crying. She'd already fucking lost it. You know, I'm sure the relationship was over. She'll never trust that fucking guy again. You know, and he didn't even do anything. He didn't do anything other than we knew his name, you know. And like destroying this one chick's life wasn't enough. They did it at 2 other places of business. One was a restaurant. And again, the waitress she just freaking fell apart. You know, she's like, oh man, I thought we were in love. So as a PA, I'm like, hey man, can we not do the 3rd bit? Because, you know.
So was this Alan Funt?
I have, yeah, well, it was the Candid Camera show, you know.
Okay, yeah. So Alan Funt.
It wasn't, well, he was dead by then.
Oh, I got you. So when he was still alive.
How old do you think I am? For fuck's sake, how old do you think
No,
I
I
am?
mean, he was alive in the 70s and 80s, wasn't he?
I think he died in the early 80s. This was 1989.
Okay,
well. He was no longer.
I did, have you ever seen that thing on Amazon where they have the Candid Camera, but the adult Candid Camera bits, where they would like walk naked women into office buildings and stuff like that just to see what people would do if they just, you know, were casually walking around naked or whatever like that. There's all kinds of, it wasn't just women, it would be men too, but just weird stuff. Like,
well, I'm just thinking, it's like it depends on the build of the person, you know.
Right, but I mean, somebody just walking in, sitting down casually, like with no clothes on, just people going.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard both not to look and not to look away from a naked person that walks into the room.
Right.
You know, that's the 2 reactions. I gotta look, but then I gotta look away.
I gotta look away.
You know?
Yeah. Oh
in fact, you know, when after Katrina, I was living in Fifi Mahoney's wig shop. There was an apartment above it. The balcony was right above the entrance of the wig shop, and it was the only way to get into the apartment was you had to walk through Fifi Mahoney's wig shop and go up a flight of stairs and knock on my door. And which was funny enough in the daytime, and it was a great way to come back to New Orleans. You know, the city was so empty, and the only people who were around were people that really loved being here. And I mean, it was deserted, you know. So, and at night to get to, you know, my place, you had to walk in with the key into the wig shop, the deserted wig shop, and go up the stairs. And that was both creepy and wonderfully New Orleans. And so this one night I'm up there and I'm writing a song, and I'm inside, not on the balcony. And my second ex-wife was on the balcony, and she calls out, hey, you got to come out here and check this out. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of writing a song. She goes, no, you got to come check this out. So I got on the balcony, and there, coming up the street, is 3 people, 2 girls and a man. And one of the chicks obviously had lived in the neighborhood because she's given a very loud drunken tour. They're all carrying, you know, tropical isles or hurricanes, whatever. And she's giving a drunken tour like, yeah, I used to get my coffee there at the CC's, and I used to live in that place right there. And nothing about it was out of place except for she was completely naked as the day she was born. She was wearing a pair of high heels with a dress slung over her shoulder. Her 2 companions were fully clothed, and just all of them just like taking it in, you know, and she's just walking. It was a hot night, but she's just walking down the street with her drink. It's about 9:30 at night. And so I go out and I'm just watching. I'm just like, I just love this city. No cars were slowing down to look.
Right.
People walking the other way were just carrying on their conversations. Nobody was catcalled. Nobody was noticed. It was just like, you know, you're in the quarter, somebody's naked. What the hell? It's after Katrina. What the hell? There was one young man who was about a half a block behind them, and I could see that he was walking fast to catch up. But literally, when he came abreast of them, if you will, all he did was go like this. He just like looked and saw that she was naked. He shrugged. It was like, okay. And then he just kept walking. He was just sort of couldn't believe she was naked. He got up and he looked, and then he looked away. That's what you do.
Kept going.
You look and you go, yeah, they're naked, all right. And then you look away.
And then you're like, okay, well, moving on.
Moving on. and then like an hour later, I'm lying inside and I hear the voice. I used to drink there and I got my coffee there. I'm like, I gotta get you out. You know? The 3 of them are coming back down the street, and she's fully dressed this time. And my ex was a bit of a smart ass, and as they get under our balcony, she calls out, come on, honey, take it off. And we hear her voice go, okay. And she comes out the other side, dress flung over the shoulder, and disappears off into the French Quarter, naked as the day she was born. Right. Great city, really.
It's an interesting city.
Yes.
Like you said, nobody's Nobody's giving her 2 cents.
Nobody cared.
Nobody cared.
Nobody cared. You
I
know,
remember
seen it.
there's a story about when U2 was first breaking or whatever like that, and they were recording over at they recorded with Daniel Lanois, so they were over at Kingsway, and they wanted to go out and see. I think it was one of the either Neville's or Meters or somebody like that's playing at Tipitina's, and they we got to see this. This is awesome. So Bono's like, yeah, but I just don't really feel like being hassled and stuff like that. He's trying to call up the security and get the security on there, and Daniel goes, "You're not going to need the security." And he's like, "Oh man, I always need security." He goes, since we, since the last year and a half, we kind of need security everywhere. He goes, "I'm not trying to be an ass," but Daniel goes, "You're not going to need, I guarantee it. You won't need security." They talk him into going down there. Bono and the Edge are hanging out, watching the Nevilles, and didn't get bothered by anybody. It's just like people.
Well, that was our New Orleans, Mikey. Like I don't know, it's different these days because of the social media thing. I think
maybe so.
You tag a celebrity at a show, and suddenly you're.
Well, why do they all like Maple Leaf so much? You ever notice the actors would be like, "Oh, I love going to hang out to Maple Leaf," because they didn't get bothered, they didn't get messed with.
Well, I was at Tipitina's one night to see the Swingin' Haymakers. You remember Bill Davis's band,
and
his
Kim
country
Davis.
band?
Yeah,
Kim Davis, and I love the band anyway. I love that kind of music. But they were covering a song of mine, "I'm Kissing Her, But I'm Thinking of You," which she, of course, had changed to "I'm Kissing Him, But I'm Thinking of You." And so I was in between marriages at the time, so I had a date, and it was like a Monday, and there might have been like 20 people at Tipitina's, 25 people. Wasn't many people there. Even 100 people at Tipitina's doesn't look like many people. So however many people, I don't want to disparage because they were a great band, but there wasn't many people, and it was a Monday night, and Springsteen walks in, and he's with Patty, and he was with his bodyguard, and his bodyguard just stays at the front door, and they just walk, and they go stand in a corner just to my left, and nobody even goes over and says hello or anything. He's just standing there with his arms around his wife, and they're just kind of checking out a country band, and I'm so happy because Bruce Springsteen's going to hear this band play my song, and so they go into the song, and I look out of the corner of my eye, and they're gone, and I just dropped my head. My date goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Man, Springsteen was here, and I was hoping he'd hear my song." And she goes, "They're right behind you dancing to it." So I kind of snuck a peek over my shoulder, and they were right behind me dancing to it, which was awesome.
Yes.
And then after the show, he's legendary for going back and being nice to the musicians he goes to see, and he did. It wasn't a packed night, but he went back and hung out with the band after the show, and never did ask Bill what he said or anything, but he went back and said hello. And Griff and it was John Thomas Griffith was with me, and the date had split, and Griff and I were at the bar. She had school in the morning. And so it's me and Griffin, the bartender, and it's late on Monday. There's nobody there, and here comes Springsteen, and Patty and the bouncer, the security guy, have already split, and it's just him walking out by himself, and he's about 20 yards away approaching us, and Griff starts elbowing me as we're leaning on the bar. "Say something, dude." I'm like, "Shut up, man." "Say something, dude." I'm like, "Shut up, man. Say something, dude." And Springsteen sees us acting like idiots, and he stops, and he smiles, and he holds out his hand. So I shook his hand and said anything besides thank you would be superfluous. And he said thanks, and he walked out.
Wow. That
was my Bruce moment.
Yes, and he danced to you. By the way, good morning, Sandy. Nice to see you. Glad you made it again today. Eddie says there's a Kevin Costner Mandina story.
No, though he's confusing too, because I'm like the Forrest Gump of rock and roll. I bumped into a lot of famous people. I've never been famous myself. The Kevin Costner story is different than the Mandina's. The Mandina story was that it goes in line with what you're saying, like New Orleans people just were not that impressed with celebrity. And it was Jazz Fest about 1987, and Matt Dillon was in town filming a movie or coming from Jazz Fest. I think my friend Coleman was actually with him at the time. I didn't know Coleman until a decade or so later. But I go into Mandina's, and it's packed. I'm with friends, and it's Jazz Fest. And I've known the bartender, Kevin Manning, since he worked at the Beverly Dinner Playhouse in the 70s. And I say, "Hey, Kevin, how long for your table?" And he's cleaning the glass, and he goes, "About 45 minutes, Paul." I said, "Thanks, man. Put us on the list." And we get a beer, and we're standing there. And Matt Dillon walks in with his buddies, which I'm sure Coleman was probably one. And he goes, "Hey, man, how long for a table?" And Kevin's still cleaning the glass. He looks, and he goes, "About 45 minutes. And Matt Dillon looks both ways, and he goes, "I'm Matt Dillon. How long for a table?" And Kevin's still cleaning glass. He goes, "About 45 minutes." But they stayed. They were cool. They got their table. He just tried. You'd be thinking, "What the fuck? I'll try it."
Right.
Because I worked on a movie with him. I was a PA on a movie in New York that he was in. See, it's like 6 degrees of me. I've known everybody, and he was actually it was a murder mystery that I can't remember the name of, with he and Sean Young, A Kiss Before Dying.
Oh yeah.
Also
I know that
1989.
one.
I did a lot of crazy shit in 1989. And he was actually really cool, man. He would take the Teamsters out for steak dinners once a week and that kind of stuff, and was kind of a down to earth guy to work around. He never gave me grief as a PA, never bothered me. Sean Young was quite interesting.
Right. I just downloaded a book on Audible called wait, hold on, let me look, because it's about 1999 being the best movie year. Let me see. It's in my library. It says best movie year ever, 1999.
I had a lot to do with that as a PA.
Did you?
Had a profound effect on the film industry as a PA that I think continues to resonate throughout the film industry today. Really, the artier ends, of course.
I have no doubt. I have no, obviously, you're Detective Dillard. Is it Dillard or Dillon?
Dillard, like the store.
Yes,
because
okay.
I'd like to think that my family was connected. I had money, but I chose to become a cop. I could have
love it.
I could have ridden on the family fortune, the Dillard store, and could have run the men's department and had the finest suits. But instead, I chose to be the best dressed cop and do right by the people.
You understand acting. You have got to get in there, and you got a backstory. You got to have a backstory for this
Absolutely,
guy.
you got to have a backstory. I had a whole backstory. Nobody cared, but I had a backstory. I carry it with me to this day. In fact, I've told my wife I'm retiring because Detective Dillard hasn't gotten the call back. So I'm going to retire from music, and it's going to be Paul Sanchez, Private Dick.
Right.
Just investigating,
right. Detective
crimes
Dillard.
and misdemeanors.
Crimes and misdemeanors. Hey guys, we actually got a few people watching today. Do you guys know we are using our new fancy software that's supposed to be so good? Is Paul seem in sync? He seems good, right? He seems good. He looks good. He really looks good. I like the guitar in the back there.
Trying out new software where we can talk over each other.
Yes, so we can talk over each other.
It's going to be revolutionary for businesses.
Oh, let's see here. Allison, she has a friend from Jazz Fest. There's a great story about Flea from the Chili Peppers in the gospel tent, whooping it up with all the not very Flea gospel tent people. And it makes all this. I could definitely see Flea up in there, going to church.
If you're moved by the Spirit, you move by the Spirit. I'm not going to judge.
Nope. There's always great stuff. When Aaron does his Amazing Grace bit, they always do that every year. That's always, beautiful moment.
For me, and I've said this before probably to you, if not on this Another Cup of Coffee thing we do, but that's one of the holiest memories of Jazz Fest that I carry with me was whatever I was doing and wherever I was. If I was home, if I hadn't been out at Fest all day, I wanted to go out there for the end of the last day and see the Nell Brothers. I wanted to see them on stage, the family spirit they created. I had known Charles personally back in the 70s when I was a bartender at the Bacchus Lounge in Chile Gentilly. He'd come and sit in with this band, the Pearls, and he was the sweetest and kindest and gentlest soul. And Art Neville had been a fan of the Backbeats and had commended me on my songwriting when I was young and given me hope, giving hope to a young kid from the channel. It was one of those things you just don't forget. He came out one night to watch us and said, "Man, you write real songs." And so I had some personal connection to each of them and had worked on films that Aaron had been in and stuff. But even before then, when the sun's setting and the Nell Brothers are on stage and Aaron's singing Amazing Grace, that's probably what heaven's like.
Yeah, no kidding.
The end of Field of Dreams when they go, "Is this heaven?" No, it's Iowa. No, it's Jazz Fest with the Nell Brothers singing at sunset. That's heaven.
I had so much fun at the Jazz Fest in place last year. Around the corner, we have a Canseco's, and so you can go get, even now, you can go get the Jazz Fest Cubans. So we got the Jazz Fest Cubans, and we sat on our porch.
That's funny.
cranked up the Jazz
That's
Fest
that's
replays.
the great thing about New Orleans. It's like I used to live near Jazz Fest for a few years,
That's right.
and I just loved that time of year because long before people started coming to town for festival, the workers are all headed there. Like my friend Rob Savoy works for the festival, and when it's close to time, they don't go to the office anymore. They go to the fairgrounds. Once the offices are set up at the fairgrounds, it's months before anybody else is out there, and those guys are out there working every day as the equipment's coming in, as the stages are being set up. And every time another layer of activity is added, there's more activity in my neighborhood. There's more people driving on, riding their bikes out there and walking by with coffee in the morning. And you literally physically feel the buzz grow, watch the buzz grow, the smiles on the faces. Then the tourists arrive. And the fest isn't open yet. They're just checking in. But everybody's so happy, man. And the local business owners, even in the restaurants and the coffee shops in the neighborhood, they're all happy because they're all making money. And the weather's always usually pretty cool, at that time of year. So even the locals are in a great mood because we don't dig cold weather, and it's not cold anymore. It's warm, and you can walk around in your shorts and flip flops. And we don't mind sharing a table with a few strangers just yet. We'll hate it by mid fest, but we'll get over it, after fest is over. So the buzz remains cool. That's what I love about living close to it.
It was nice. For a lot of years, I did the television mix for Jazz Fest because I did Blues Tent for years, and then finally moved on from the Blues Tent and started doing television stuff for them and all the streaming or whatever, all that stuff. So I did those mixes for years, but then in 2018, they cut all of that out. They didn't have the sponsors for it. So I went back and I mixed Gentilly Stage for 2018 and 2019, and going out there every day was just, I know what you mean. I mean, it's just, we're out there for 3 or 4 days beforehand, and just
Sure.
the weather. At that point in April, it's not hot yet, so it's still nice weather outside. And
Oh yeah, and you're having all this great food that you
and in
would never get.
2019, we had just moved back into town, like just a couple of weeks before. I mean, I think I got in literally the week before Jazz Fest. I had to be down at Jazz Fest. I think we moved home on Friday, and then Tuesday I was down at Jazz Fest doing load ends. And all of a sudden, we had all these calls on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Go, Mike, so glad to see you back in town. I'm like, how'd you know I was back in town? We saw you in the news yesterday, because the news crews were out there, just checking out everybody and seeing what was going on. They saw me setting up the sound system at Gentilly, and it's like, oh, it's so good to see you back. It was just, it was kind of, it's
Yeah.
just fun to be back in New Orleans and part of
Yeah,
that thing.
I I I remember after Katrina, I was in line at a restaurant. I mean, I think it was Canseco's, and the cashier asked me a question I didn't know the answer to, and the man behind me answered the question, which was about a song, and he was an older fella, and there was a young guy with like dreads and stuff. He started actually singing the song, and then the old man and the cashier joined in, and I just thought, where the hell else am I supposed to live? This is not
Right.
going to happen anywhere else.
No.
Where somebody
No,
asks a
it's
question, next thing you know, you're in the middle of an episode of a musical. It's fantastic.
so real
I
quick, what's
saw
the?
this.
I'm sorry.
No, I saw this article from a writer who used to write for the Times-Picayune, and this was about 5 years after the flood. And he said that he'd come home and visit his mother, and that his wife and kids didn't want to come back. He'd gotten a nice job at the Atlanta Constitution in Atlanta. They lived in a good neighborhood, and the kids liked the new school, and they just didn't want to come back. And he, did what a lot of families did. He kept his family happy, and he stayed away, even though his heart was in New Orleans. And he came home to see his mother for Thanksgiving or whatever. And he was standing in line, and the cashier asked the woman in front of him a question, which the woman behind her answered. And the three of them got in a conversation that he was not a part of at all, but it went on completely around him as business stopped. And he just teared up. He said, I'm never going to have this moment in Atlanta where strangers are just talking to each other like they've known each other all their lives.
Right.
And there's so many special things that brought me home. That was one of it. And I don't know what post-pandemic will be like. The social media has changed so much of what I loved about New Orleans. Finding a secret place or even a secret night at a great place was one of the joys. Now, if you happen upon it, it's only going to be a secret for about 20 minutes to a half hour before somebody, puts it on social media, and then the place is packed, and your great little private, intimate night is,
But
a
as
great 20 minutes.
entertainers, remember, we always want it to be packed, so it doesn't hurt for
Well,
entertainers.
I want to. If a show's going to be packed with people who are there to hear the music and feel the music,
Right. No,
see
you're
the
right.
music. I want them all. If they're there to be part of a scene and they're coming on a party bus, then there's other places in New Orleans with karaoke, and
It's
I don't
true
need
because
the
they're
money
just gonna make
grabs.
noise. They're talking to each other. They're not really
They're not
interested
gonna,
in.
it's such a drag, man. Like,
Yeah.
I asked Davis Rogan about that because Davis is a friend of mine. I love going to see him solo because he's his funniest storyteller, and his songs have such a great edge to him. He got great funny stories as well as great poignant songs. And I asked him about because he was a part of the Frenchman Street scene before I was. I mean, I was in Cowboy Mouth. I was off playing around the country. I was never really part of that scene until I came home for a brief time. But I said, like, before Treme and after, what's it like? And he goes, well, before Treme, I used to have, like, on a good night, 40 people, maybe even 50 people that listened to everything that me and the band did. And maybe I give the guys, like 100 each, maybe 150 if it was a great night. That was rare, 75 maybe. He goes, now since Treme, it's packed room. Got to scream to be heard. Nobody's really listening to the jokes or the songs, except for the same 40 people up front. But I pay the band really well, and I walk home with enough to help cover my rent. And I
That's
don't
why
mind the
being in a
trade-off.
rock band in that situation is, kind of works in your favor because you can just beat
Yeah, we
out the
couldn't hear him
crowd.
anyway. Talk your
Yeah.
asses off. We can't hear you.
We
We're
we
louder
can't
than you're
talk.
ever going to be. I don't give
Right.
a fuck.
Yeah, it's like, come on, try to catch up with us. Oh man, they say that we look and sound awesome. People say the show looks a lot better. So look at us. We're moving up.
Give a hand to Mikey for the technical,
Well, I get to borrow
never-ending.
this for 60 days. So by the time the trial runs out, who knows? The show might be over by
I feel
then.
like
But
I feel like I'm just ahead though.
well,
Like
that's the way you always are. You're just sort of ahead. I
I
can
don't
make
want to
you.
just be ahead. Is that
You.
making me less of a head?
We'll work on that next time. How about that?
Okay.
We'll work on making you less of a head. Does he look like less of a head, guys? Let's see. Leanne Bender is saying she's loving the stories.
Oh, Leanne is awesome. She's a great singer. She lives in Ohio. They need stories in Ohio because it's so freaking cold there. They have to have stories just to get them through winter. Leanne's awesome. She hooked me up with a gig on 4th of July that she plays every year. It's this friend of hers who's got a lot of money and a lot of land and puts on a huge fireworks display and wonderful party, great people. So I'm spending the weekend with her pals. And her friend Lisa Kohler is one of the greatest ladies that you could ever want to meet anywhere, great photographer. So they have a pre-date in the morning. Now, I'm from New Orleans, so I am not unfamiliar with the ritual of a pre-parade party. A pre-parade party involves margaritas and mimosas and a little something to nosh, so you have something in your stomach, and then you get a drink out at the parade, but you have a little something first at home at somebody's house. And they say, "Do you want one for the road?" And I say, "Well, I'll just finish what I have. I've already had a couple, and I'll get one out at the parade." But it seems like nobody heard me say that part, or maybe I just thought I'll get one out at the parade. Because we walked a mile and a half from her house to the parade, and everybody's got big drinks, and I'm thinking, man, they can't wait to get out there and just get a drink. I'm just going to wait and get one when I get there. So I get out there, and everybody's drinking their drinks, and I say, hey, I'd like to get a Bloody Mary. And they said, oh, man, she just said something before we left the house. And it's like, well, where can I just go around here? And they all burst out laughing. They go, it's a dry county. You can't,
Right.
you have to drive like 25, 30 minutes to get a drink anywhere. Like, that's hilarious, guys. Which one of these places will have a beer or something for me? And they're like, no, seriously, you'd have to walk back to Lisa's, and nobody's going with you. The parade's going to be here any minute, you know. So I didn't even know that, like, dry county, who would do
Right.
that to people?
Right.
I grew up in New Orleans. There was liquor everywhere. I remember when I was a kid, it was the beginning of school year, and there used to be a chain of stores called Shoetown. And every year, Shoetown would announce that they had a free keg of beer in every store for the parents to drink a beer while the kids came and got their school shoes.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's how readily available beer was, man.
When I was 4 and 5 years old, my grandfather used to take me to Whitey's and sit me on the bar stool next to him, and they'd feed me a Coke or whatever.
course.
It was no
Eric?
biggie, and he'd play pool and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I'm in the bar room. There's cigarette smoke everywhere. It doesn't matter, It's
In
just
fact,
like,
the first time I ever encountered this hideous thing where you can't have a drink and leave with it from a bar. I mean, it's just Are we not living in the year 2016? I can't just leave with what I just paid for. So it's like 1989, and I'm working on this television show I've talked about before, the first television show ever done by Fox. It's called Against the Law. Lasted 3.5 episodes. Canceled it in the middle of the fourth one.
Dang,
Put on The
Dillard wasn't
Simpsons
there, that's
instead. Anyway, so we're in this bar. My friend Steve Brennan and my friend Alan Breton, who I'm still friends with to this day, they take me out to show me the bars of Boston. And we stop in Cambridge at this little place that had some steps down into a basement. Very cool, Sam Adams sign or whatever the hell. I don't know the name of the bar. It's 1989. It's a long time ago, a lot of drinks ago. But we're having fun, but then they want to go someplace else, as you do when you're young and in your 20s. And I say, okay, they think I'm going to settle my bill, but I'm going to go get a beer to take with me to the next bar because I don't know how far of a drive it's going to be to the next bar. Like in New Orleans, if you're leaving the bar you're in, right, and you're not driving,
right?
and even if you are driving often, and if you when you're in your 20s, not now as much because everything's so much stricter, but back then it was looser, and you would go, we just quit one for the road. So I grab a beer and I go to the door, and the bouncer says, "You got to have to finish that before you leave." And I laugh. I go, "No, you don't understand. I bought it so I could take it with me to go." And he goes, "Well, you can't." And I said, "Well, that's why I bought it. I bought it to go." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, just give me a to-go cup and I'll be on my way. And he goes, "Give you a what?" I said, "A to-go cup." Like I'm saying it slow, a to-go cup, as if he's so I can pour it in and leave. And he's like, "You're not leaving with that beer." And now I'm kind of pissed. I go, "So you're telling me that if I go across the street to that McDonald's and I buy a large Coke and I dump it out and I come in here with the cup and pour my beer in here, I can't leave?" And he goes, "Where are you from?" I said, "New Orleans." He goes, "Oh, no, you can't leave with your drink, man." And that was it. I was like, he had encountered our kind before.
The first time it happened to me, I was in Alabama, and they just thought I was a complete moron and just didn't get it. We were look, we were in what was our green room. I don't know if you ever played the Ivory Tusk, but there was no green room at the Ivory Tusk.
Who hasn't played the Ivory Tusk?
Right. So you're out back, in that alleyway or whatever like that, and so we're drinking beer back there, getting ready for the show.
Oh, you can't, man. They get pissed off.
Oh my God, they flipped out. They came out and like, "What are you doing?" And it's like,
I've gotten yelled at in that same spot.
Yes.
We played the Ivory Rock. We played the Ivory Tusk with Dash Rip Rock when Chris Luckett was playing drums for him. Mm-hmm. And Chris and Fred had a diving contest into a giant pile of empty beer bottles because the Tusk had so many kids, and they just at the end of the night, it was a concrete floor. They'd sweep all the bottles into a big pile, and they were diving head first into the beer bottles to see who could get in without getting cut. It was just insane. The Ivory Tusk. Yes.
The Ivory Tusk. So yeah, that was the first time I came across it. I was like 18 years old on the road, and they're telling me, "What are you doing? Are you out of your mind?"
But I have to tell you, like, I was in New York to visit my friend Scotty Moore. This isn't even that long ago. This is like, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It's kind of a chilly day, and I'm meeting him by the room where he does his editing. He's a director. He's a film director. And there's a wine store, so I figure I'll buy a bottle of wine while I'm waiting for him, and I buy a bottle of wine, and I call him. He goes, "Oh, I'm gonna beat you another 20 minutes, man." I said, I'll wait. I'll meet you down here." I get a plastic cup, and I'm standing on the corner, and hell, it's cold. Open up the wine. I'm pouring myself a cup of wine, and a cop car pulls up and stops at the stoplight. And the cop looks right at me. He looks at the wine, and he goes, "Pretty cold out there today, huh?" I said, "Yeah, it's chilly, man." He goes, "Enjoy." Pulls away.
Nice. Nice.
Because a New York City cop, he has to have seen something worse than a guy dressed nicely in an overcoat with a nice, expensive bottle of wine, discreetly pouring a cup. It has to be like the least harmful thing he's going to see on his route that day, like some guy trying to hide a cup of wine. And let's face it, an old man trying to hide a cup of wine.
Yeah, now it's just, yeah. Leanne says you guys are the king of the road pops. Is that
the road pop.
King of the road pops. She says, "But we are king of the road pops."
Oh, maybe she's calling me Pops.
Oh, maybe so. Maybe your road pops. Yes. It was
we did. Well, she's a great singer. If she comes in again, she sang with me at Jazz Fest last time I did it, whenever that was. She sang on "Light It on Fire." She shreds.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like like inviting Janis Joplin up to sing a verse on Light on Fire.
By the way, everybody loves your guitar right there over your shoulder. It's a hit. The guitar over the shoulder.
It's a gift. John Rankin bought it and then didn't want it. And then somebody gave me a sticker from the Woody Guthrie Museum where it says, "This machine kills fascism," because they know that I usually paint something on my guitar about "this machine kills sadness" or "this machine kills anger." So instead of painting this one, I actually just put that sticker on from the Woody Guthrie Museum.
Oh, that's awesome.
They gave me a Woody Guthrie guitar pick too, which I promptly lost on a gig. I mean, it's literally the first time I used it. Gone. Thanks for the gift.
Right. Thanks. You're gone. So I forgot. We have a guest waiting, don't we?
Okay, but does our guest know the new rules?
I haven't talked to him. No.
In that case, he is not going to like this one bit.
You don't think he's going to like it?
I think he's going to. I think it's going to challenge him intellectually,
and
comedically, and I think he'll like the part about not interrupting him.
Right.
But the original concept of this segment was 2 minutes with Edward. And he would get 2 minutes to speak on any subject he wanted. And then that would be it. And because it evolved into a conversation, because we all were friends with Eddie and we talked to him before he started talking and we talked to him while he was talking and we tried to cut him off, which was impossible on Zoom, not so impossible now, ironically. But the concept of just unleashing Eddie for 2 minutes on any topic he wanted was just a delightful concept. It was like the SNL news segment. It was a segment I was looking forward to. And then it sort of evolved into Eddie being a third guest for the rest of the show. And it was much tougher on Zoom because it really evolved into the Eddie show then because he doesn't shut up. So
in the nicest way possible.
In the nicest way possible. I mean, Eddie, before I had Google, I had Eddie Ecker. He's one of the most intelligent people I ever met. He's one of the funniest people I ever met. He's one of the loudest people I ever met, but he's one of the biggest hearted people I ever met.
Yes.
That said, he's not the easiest guy to have a conversation with. And so he thought it might be fun to go back to the concept of just let him go for 2 minutes. And at 2 minutes, Mikey has to cut him off and we go on with our show. But we will not interrupt the purity of what is his Eckerness.
Of his Eckerness. So I'm going to bring him into the show, and it's probably a little bit unfair to just throw this at him right now. Like, all right, now go. So, probably.
Well, we'll do an intro. We'll do the final intro, and then we'll let him have his 2 minutes of Eckerness.
And Eddie, you're going to have to send us, even one of your favorite little tunes that you're doing. And, we can just, I'll even play a little music for you.
Oh, that'd be great.
Right? It's the Eddie segment, it's music. And then,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, so I'm going to bring Eddie into the conversation now. Look at Eddie looking good. There's Eddie. How you doing, boss?
Hey,
man?
guys.
Wait.
Hey, everybody, good morning.
Before we start the clock on Eddie,
Yeah.
I have to comment.
Yeah, thanks for giving me 2 minutes at 9:59.
Yeah, it's prime time.
10 o'clock. Thanks. And thanks for not telling me beforehand. Hey, taking out my front yard. I could have been taking before pictures. You spring this on me. I'm like, holy shit, my mind is blown.
Wait, you posted on Facebook that you got vaxxed and you were going to get a haircut.
I'm not ready to go into public yet.
You are definitely not.
2 weeks.
You look like a member of Eight Is Enough.
Fuck off.
You look like the brother who took Mark Hamill's place on Eight Is Enough.
I look like Jamie Lee Curtis. That's who I look like.
No, you are not as hot
Actually,
as
no.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
You look surprisingly like Joe Pesci when he was young.
If you all would give me a chance, my 2 minutes, I have a story that ties into what both you knuckleheads were talking about just now.
All right, we're going to let you talk.
and-
Wait a second.
We wanted.
To cap it off for Paul, it's also a Tommy Ecker story.
Okay, we wanted to first introduce you and be friends before Mikey started the clock, so that we could enjoy each other for a moment,
There's
especially
a clock.
especially in this new format where we could have you in the thing and interrupt us, but instead we're going with a concept, and I know as an artist you appreciate concept.
Boy, you
Yes.
sure love spontaneity. Y'all didn't pull the shit with Craig Klein.
Well, when you win your Grammy, we'll give you the whole show.
That's right. You win your Grammy, you get the whole show.
How am I going to win a Grammy? I'm in a band with Mike Mayhew. We make a record every 15 years.
Hey, I thought you were making a solo record for the
I'm
last.
trying. I got to waste my mornings in front of a camera for 59 minutes.
That's true. I've been watching him. He was leaning back like this. He's all like, "Oh, dear God, when am I getting on the show?"
I have shit. I have things to do. I have responsibilities now. I'm not, I'm not a tech anymore.
All right. Okay, so it's time for 2 minutes with Edward. What is your topic today?
Okay. The dry counties. Well,
Okay.
dry parishes, actually. Because when I was a junior, I'm trying to find the right angle, Mike. So when I was a junior in high school, my band director set us up at a band camp in Monroe, Louisiana, at Northeastern Louisiana University, which was really great. I went up there. You get to meet all the cutest flute players in Louisiana, and they teach you some stuff. You learn some stuff. I was in the show band and the symphonic band, whatever. So I go my senior year, and I'm liking it. It's nice. The school's all cool and all, but I kind of had a reputation already. I was in the St. Paul's marching band, and and we were like heavy drinkers. I already was a heavy drinker my senior year. So senior year, we go back to band camp up in Monroe. It's beautiful. The band director is nice. I'm better than I was the year before. There's more flautists and saxophonists, and it's all band girls. You know what I'm saying? So it's great. We're all staying in a dorm, and I'm hooking up with chicks, and it's great. And they're really like plugging me up. And Tommy is one of the parents that comes to pick us up at the end of the band camp. And so we're saying our goodbyes, and my dad and I are talking to the band director, and he's trying to sell me on a scholarship to Northeast Louisiana University. And he's saying, "You're going to love it, Edward. It's great. We'll give you a full scholarship. We'll pay for your room and board. You'll major in music. It's a wonderful place to go to school. It's a dry parish." And as soon as he said that, Tommy went, "Well, it's been nice meeting you, Doc."
You father.
And so, long story fabulous, I ended up at Loyola.
Perfect. Minutes with Edward. That's 2 minutes with Edward.
But before I go, I want Mike Mayhew to admit that my drumming has gotten quieter in the last decade.
Look,
so
it
sorry
wasn't.
Our time is up. We're so sorry our time is up, Mikey. We'll have to answer that one another time. We'll get to that one on the next 2 minutes with Edward.
We'll get that one on the next 2 minutes with Eddie. And by the way, what's her name here?
His dad was a trip, man. Oh my God.
Who was saying
That's
this?
a true story too. His father was just like that. So it was nice meeting you.
Okay, so Leanne explained road pops are illegal drinks in glasses. That's what road pops are. So king of the road
that's
pops.
An Ohio thing.
I guess
See,
so.
we just call them Go Cups.
Yeah.
And
They call them road
New Orleans, the first thing you do is you go to the drive-up daiquiri stand. Now, a drive-up daiquiri stand in Ohio is an unthinkable thing. But in New Orleans, as Leanne knows, it's a completely functional thing. And it's not illegal because they hand you the drink in a closed, sealed container, which is the cup with the lid unpoked. The straw is in your hand. Now, breaking the law is on you. You could drive to a park with your drive-through daiquiri and have it there, which is a sensible thing to do. Or if it's a really hot day, you could pop the straw in, and there you are with a drive-through daiquiri.
With a drive-through
It's a
daiquiri.
slippery slope.
I used to love
But
the
not a
drive-through
road pop.
daiquiris.
I never heard the word road pop before. That's very interesting.
Yeah, yes.
Me
either. So
pop is what they used to call, let's have a pop.
Let's have a pop, right?
No.
So I guess a road pop is taking one on the road. So hey, we had a fantastic show today. I think people enjoyed the stories. Somehow we had all new stories. I don't know what the Kevin Costner story is, but we'll save that one for next time.
Absolutely.
And guys, once again, when is this Jazz Festing in place start? Same time Jazz Fest would be last week of April, first week of May kind of
I
thing?
think so. Yeah, I think so.
Did they just do it during Jazz Fest days last week? Was it like Thursday?
Yes.
Last year?
Well, I don't remember. I better not say anything.
Yeah.
But
I might have to look that
yeah,
up and start.
somebody knows. I'm sure Shmoo knows. By the way, when you talk about Allison Dewars, her name is Shmoo. You can just go Shmoo.
Okay. Hey, Shmoo. So she says they used to drive and get the daiquiris to cross the causeway to see Tom's house on the North Shore. They'd get a daiquiri on the way.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
Road fobs, go Cubs. Nice. So it was fun. Like I said, everybody, thank you for coming again. We've got our fancy new setup here.
Oh yeah, we're big time now. There's a
big
sponsor
time.
coming in. Big money coming our way, Mikey.
Big money. Oh, Thursday 4/22. She says it starts. All right. So it's starting 4/22. I'm
2 days
excited
late,
about the
but-
one on 4/23 because we'll have our show leading into Jazz Fest. I think I'm going to be sitting outside with sunglasses on. I'll have.
I may have to come over. I may have to come sit with you.
Hey, maybe
in
that's a
New
good
York.
idea. Maybe we could finally get that to happen during the Jazz Fest.
We talked about it, and you will have been vaccinated for 2 weeks by then.
That's true. That's
Right?
true. Yep. And you've
So
already
I
been
can come
vaccinated
over.
twice. Like you've got both
I've
of them,
been
right?
vaccinated. I'm in the old people category. I get vaccinated.
Nice.
Actually, it was because it was one of those things where Allison was working with the hospital and they were vaccinated, and they're like, end of the day, not enough people showed up. Do you know anybody? And then everybody on staff is trying to call, somebody so that they don't get thrown away because the shots have to get used or thrown away.
Right.
So I figure better me than a garbage can
Yeah, probably.
because
So.
I don't have a very high opinion of myself, but I do feel like I am a cut above a garbage can.
Grouch.
Comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with saying that I am above a garbage can.
Well, it's that's a big step for you, actually.
It's a huge step in years of therapy, Mikey. And here we are.
Let's see. Shmoo is going nuts here. Let's see. They took the MTW off. What's the MTW? I wonder. Have a safe weekend. Stay dry. She says we need Nan signs. She's making them. What are the Nan
Put her
signs?
Nan
Shmoo?
sign. I
Shmoo,
don't know what she's
Shmoo?
talking about.
Yeah, me either. I
Who?
guess it's Shmoo. Yeah, I'm kidding. I was joking around. And I don't know what an MTW is either. What is that? Monday, Thursday, Wednesday? I don't know.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yes, they took. All right, they took Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. Gotcha. Nan signs. I'm not sure what that is, but
Yeah, I think it's different this year because last year the pandemic was in full force, and so they did it for the full week because people couldn't go out and they were trying to help people keep their sanity. This year, people have returned to work and life has returned more to the new normal, and so they're doing it more like a jazz fest. So that's cool.
gotcha. You remember
Anything
last
that
year they
gets-
actually broke the internet with the Stevie Wonder performance and stuff. I think the Ella Fitzgerald and Stevie Wonder
Well,
broke the internet.
You just named two of the greatest musicians who ever lived, so you can see why they might.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Ella
they-
Fitzgerald and Stevie Wonder, literally, they're in a rarefied air that
Of
few
course.
artists have breathed in.
Right, of course. And it was an older
Yeah.
performance of those two, like something from like the 80s or something. So it was like, more in their prime than even, and Stevie's still wonderful. You catch Stevie, he's still amazing. But back then, oh my God, when he was
Are we
young.
still on the air?
Huh? We are still in the
still-
air, yeah. We're still talking.
Yeah, we're supposed to end the show. Yeah,
I know.
But this is
People
all for
are
next
still,
week.
look, people are still talking to us. We're talking to people.
Yeah, but we have to. But we can't overfeed because
Yeah, I
then they
guess
won't
you're
come
right.
back next week. They won't be hungry for more coffee.
Oh, Nan is the Jazz Fest sign maker. Okay, so just so you know.
Oh, great.
And all right, so we're gonna go away, and we will see you guys on what's today, Wednesday. We'll see him on Friday
We'll see him on Friday with the superhero review with Chicago Lou.
with Chicago Lou, who's supposed to be teaching you Spanish. We're gonna see how that goes.
Yeah, we don't think we had a lot of doubts about Chicago Lou in the Spanish lessons. In reaction to us talking about it on the show the other day, he sent me a picture of a car with the all Spanish caption that I have still not yet translated. So he's in his own way, he's either teaching me or he's sticking the needle in.
Well, I liked what he put on the post, like, WTF, what are you talking about? He had me dying laughing. So we'll see you
Friday, guys.
See you guys. Thank you so much. See you, bye.
Well, I'm staring at her shoulder, but it's not what I see. When I hear two fellas fighting in the booth across from me. So I wipe away the ashes from an empty counter seat. And I wished I wasn't homesick, I wish I was asleep. Well, I hold her like a blanket up against my chin. And I need her like I need another pack of chewing gum. Well, we used to be like that, but now we're like this all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind.